Getting the thumbs up so we can start. All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to tonight's Board of Directors meeting. Tonight is Tuesday, October 22nd, 2024. I'd like to call this meeting open at 6:01. Will our student reps please read the vision, mission, and land acknowledgement, please?
Yes, just give me 1 second.
You're welcome.
The computer was not working until 10 seconds ago. But I can read it off the board for now. Mission: we provide accelerated and inclusive curricula and instruction in all subjects with an emphasis on math and science. Land acknowledgement: we would like to acknowledge that the land on which we gather is the land of the Oceti Shakowi, people of the Seven Council Fires, and the Wapikote. It is within MSA's responsibility as an academic institution to disseminate knowledge about Indigenous peoples and their history with this land. MSA works to build relationships with Native American students and families through academic pursuits and historical recognition.
And then the vision above the mission. Yeah.
The innovative, sustainable model of academic excellence for all students that creates well-rounded, lifelong learners and global citizens.
We'll make sure to change that formatting.
Nice job.
Thank you. Roll call members: Wendell Slutton here, Isaac Leonardi,
Here.
Sarah Harms,
Here.
Tamara Brooks,
Here.
Jules Kinkle,
Here.
Brian Linsmeyer,
Here.
Dan Ellingson,
Here.
Kari Kerner,
Here.
and Mary App.
Here.
Our student rep, NECA, is here. Abigail is not with us tonight.
She's volleyball.
Volleyball sections, yep. I did not receive any open forum, so we will skip over that. Can I get a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
I move to approve tonight's agenda.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? I know there was some corrections on the spelling of names for our recognition.
Yeah, I think it should be Claire Nelson, not Clara.
And
And
then,
then there's a comma on Madeline.
are there any other additions or changes to the agenda? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion passes. Are there any conflicts of interest on tonight's meeting? Hearing none, we'll move on. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
I will motion to approve the minutes.
Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Open for discussion.
Okay, there were a couple grammar-related things I just want to draw attention to, if that's all right. Okay. On page 4, in the ED report, point 6, challenges continue to be space and transportation. I'm not sure we necessarily need a comma there after space in that case. And then in the point A, in that first sentence, question regarding traffic study and if we can forward think, should be thinking. I'll wait till you're ready. I just got 2 other quick ones about grammar nature as well, so we're all there with that. You let me know when you're ready, Sarah.
Okay, Shawnee's adding stuff.
Okay.
All right.
Beautiful, okay. Page 5 in the JB Vang update, point 3. Again, I'm not sure we need a comma between tonight and as. And I got just one more of a similar comma-related nature.
Okay.
Okay, and then on, let's see here, on page 6, section, BI, regarding reimbursement resolution for school. Not necessary to have a comma between school and beyond. and then I'm done.
Are there any other corrections or additions to the minutes?
On page 4, about the ADM. ED report number 3,
CI3.
CI3, yeah.
Okay.
I think how Kate said it was 722 students are enrolled, and then there was an ADM of 686, based on what Kate said.
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay. Any others? It's good to be diligent. So. All right. So we have to approve the minutes with the corrections of grammar and the ADM count. All right. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion passes unanimously. All right. Tonight, the board would like to, make sure I'm on the right time, board would like to recognize our food pantry and the food pantry volunteers. Dr. Hinton.
So, something that we've been doing here for a little bit, and teacher Karina Lozano has helped organize, and she has interns that help with her food pantry. It has been a wildly popular and needed amenity for our students. One of the things that we will be highlighting and give to the max this year, 20% of the donations that are earmarked will go to the food pantry. Because we don't have a school lunch program, many of our students who are not able to bring lunch to school are served by the food pantry. And the demand is high, they get nutritious lunch. And our teacher Lozano organizes it, and she has a number of student volunteers who help out, who we would like to recognize them tonight. So tonight we have Karina Lozano, Claire Nelson, Ian Jin, and then Sophie Mudashir, is that? Okay.
Sophia, yeah.
Sophia Mudashir and Madeline Holthouse also help out, but they were unable to come this evening. So we'd like to recognize them for the service that they provide to our school and to our students.
Yeah.
Just shake your hand and take a picture.
Before you sit down, we're going to take a picture, so come have a seat. And then if you guys...
Don't get away this fast.
Thank you. Welcome. I don't have to stand anymore.
Exactly, before the winter makes me.
Why don't you come right in here? There we go. Oh, she's got
I'm fine.
Thank you very much.
Has a little bit of something left.
I don't need it.
You have to enjoy it while you still have it, right?
Well, and I'm trying,
You're good, you're doing good.
trying to help because I have elbow surgery on Friday.
Okay.
So it's like how much room do I have? Like enough.
Yep. Boy, I hope that goes well.
Because I'm sick and tired of it tingling down.
All right.
Extremely frustrating, yes.
Thank you again to our food pantry volunteers. Up next is our consent agenda. Is there a motion to pass the consent agenda?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
I will second it.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion passes unanimously. Board and administrative reports. We'll start with our student report from Knecka.
So more new clubs and activities at our school. First, we have Zoology Club, which is run by Krisha Rathor and Abigail Ellingson in 11th grade. Their mission statement is to teach students about diverse animals, the environment they live in, and the impact and importance of understanding the animal world. They're also going to host hands-on activities like making bird feeding houses and planting community gardens. They're also planning field trips to like the Minnesota Zoo. And they're designing zoo enclosures and animal toys in partnership with the Minnesota Zoo, so that should be a fun activity for students. They're also going to watch animal-related documentaries, movies, go on nature walks, create posters for endangered animals, and do fundraising and volunteer opportunities. So this is a great opportunity for students who are interested in biology, zoology, things like that to expand their horizons. Next, we have MSA's new art club, which has started up this month. I believe they had their first meeting on October 14th, and art club is an activity where students can do fun activities and crafts and long-term projects, but also participate in art studies and art fairs and show off their talents. MSA has a lot of very talented visual artists, so this is a great opportunity for them to do that. Then general announcements. Winter activities are starting back up again. This year, MSA is offering boys basketball, girls basketball, Nordic skiing, and boys swimming, which is a co-op with another school, Creighton Durham Hall, and girls hockey, which is a co-op with Woodbury High School. Speech is also starting on November 7th, and so is First Robotics Challenge, which is starting on December 7th. Next, we have the MSA Book Drive, which is from October 21st to November 4th. There's a book drive being held to collect donations for the book sale that's being used to support the MSA food pantry. Obviously, we just came in and recognized how important that is and acknowledge how high the demand is for that. So it's good to be aware of other ways to support them and their initiative. And lastly, student recognition. Last Tuesday, MSA's cross-country team competed in their EMAC Conference Championship, and the girls' high school cross-country team were the 2024 conference champions, and the boys' high school team was the second best scoring in their conference. This meet was an overall success. Many students set personal records, season best. They were all conference champions, which is like the highest scoring individual athlete, because obviously it's a team sport. And many honorable mention recipients, and today they're competing in their section championship, which I haven't seen the results for that, but I imagine they've done amazing. And then another sports team, the MSA girls volleyball team, is competing in their section tournament today against St. Agnes. That's obviously why Abby's not able to be here with us. So yeah, we wish them luck with all of that, and that's all I have for you.
Excellent.
Thank you.
NECA, can I do a request for our next meeting? Would it be possible for you and Abby to kind of feel out the students and see how they felt the beginning of the school year has been for everybody, and just kind of report back on that? We would love to hear from them. All right, for the board report, at our last work session, we did a couple of things. We reviewed our board goals, which are on the agenda tonight. We talked quite a bit about expansion, as an update will be given a little bit later tonight. And then a review of policy 522, as there was some major legislative changes in that. And that is in what was passed in our consent agenda. So if you are somebody who follows the policies, definitely reread 522. All right, and then executive director report.
Okay, so, a couple of quick updates. They're just the quick updates. We did the PSAT testing last Wednesday for all students in grades 9 through 11. That seemed to work out really pretty nicely for the school because they had all the space to be able to test. We didn't have any crowding with that. Our sixth graders are at Eagle Bluff tonight, having fun, I'm sure. And I think 73 went, good chunk of them went. And we have conferences coming up November 5th and 7th, so signups will be coming out for those. We're really excited. MDE is coming to visit November 7th. Assistant Commissioner Darren Cordy is coming. We filled out a survey some time ago. I remember filling it out, I don't remember when it was, asking if we wanted MDE to come and spotlight our school, and so I said yes, and they're coming. So on November 7th, they will be here. And then just a quick expansion update before I get into the assessment. I know everybody's been waiting on the edge of their seat for the traffic study, and it has been completed. We have not seen it yet, but we have hit a milestone that it felt like we were never gonna get over. So we got past that. The city and the county, and feel free to jump in, Dan, if you have anything. The city and the county are meeting tomorrow to discuss and come up with a recommendation. Everything is pretty good. There's likely gonna be a light, there's gonna be more lanes, those things we won't dispute. There's some discussion on whether or not we will have 1 access point or 2 access points. We're hoping for 2, but we haven't seen what their recommendation includes. So we will meet with the city again on Thursday to see what they have to say after that is done. If we're close to agreement, then we will move towards scheduling the community meeting, the neighborhood meeting. Everything else, they have approved for the most part, or at least they're willing to put to the planning commission our exterior design. We did mention at the work session, they don't like a gray gym, it's gonna be a buff gym, it looks fine to me. I didn't hate the gray gym either, so, I mean, they're fine. So hopefully, we'll have some more progress and we'll get past the initial stages. It feels like we've been stuck in for a long time.
Did Dan want to?
Just
yeah.
real quick, no, I think you nailed most of it. I mean, the traffic study, we've been waiting forever, and that was something we probably didn't anticipate, right? We just had scheduled a block of time because that's what we thought it would be. So, but the nice thing is our team that we have hired and working for us is extremely flexible, right? So they're trying to manage all the requests from the city, and every time we have an update, they've taken those into consideration, come back with it. So I'm not anxious about that. I'm a little bit disappointed we lost the time, but it was outside of our control, if you will. So hopefully once now this is behind us, we won't have any more of these things we are not anticipating.
Yeah.
So I think good progress. I was happy to hear that that's coming along.
Community meetings next after.
Yeah, and I don't know, we tried to see if we couldn't come at some different angles to try to push that a little bit further faster, but I think it's coming.
It's coming.
It's coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
We
think
don't
right
have a date
now,
yet, but, yeah.
we're close. We
Yeah.
should probably, I'm assuming, next Monday when we have our regular update. So, I mean, the city's being, they met with us I met with them on Monday, I'm meeting with them on Thursday, I'm meeting with them again on Monday. So they're willing to put, and it's not just the city planner. They've got a whole team of people that are, it's 4 or 5 people that they pull in.
The only other thing that might be nice for the community is we're starting to talk about when we will start having some of those kind of more aesthetic choices, right?
Yes.
Colors and things like that. So that's coming, and that's kind of an exciting part for folks. So Kate brought up during the meeting today, how do we, bring that to the community, right? So that they've come back and said they're going to narrow it down within our budget what options we have, and then bring like a package forward that we can deliberate on or what have you. So I
Yeah,
think
so we'll, hopefully
it's
that'll
coming.
be coming soon, because I was like, so far there hasn't been much for the committee to do,
Yeah.
because we're just still waiting to get over these milestones, so that's gonna be exciting. So I just have, and I'm gonna try really hard, so I gave this little summary here, because anybody who knows me pretty well knows how much I love data. And I consolidated the data to short 9 pages, but I think that 9 pages is more than we have time for this evening. So what I did, this is a little bit of a summary. If we look at our reading scores in that first box, this is our proficiency rate for this last MCA season for those grade levels. And then next to it is the statewide proficiency. So proficiency includes students who met standards and students who exceeded standards. So we are between 23 and 33% higher than the state in every grade level in reading. The other piece of data that I think is important, there's exceeds, meets, partially proficient, and then does not meet. The does not meet are the students who are a long ways away from being proficient. So when we look at the students who did not meet, it's a very small number, and then when you compare it to the state, ours are between 20 and 24% better. I mean, fewer students in that range. So even when we look at the students who may not have met proficiency, there's many of them that are very close. So that's just showing the movement that we're making, because many students who might be does not meet, they're going to be partially proficient before they become proficient.
And we're looking at percentages. It's not 3 6th graders did not meet it. It's
Yeah,
3% of the 6th graders.
3%. Now, in 6, 7, and 8, it's close to that number because we have just under 100 kids. 10th and 11th, it's a little bit different. When we go ahead and look at math, we're a little bit all over the board. We're still working on implementing. We've been working on literacy really hard for the last couple of years. Now we're going to start to try to take some of the success we've had in literacy and move it, see how we can apply those strategies to math. But even when we look at our gaps between proficiency in the state and then MSA's does not meet compared to the state, we still are faring very well. There's some areas where we need some more work, but that's kind of a nutshell of some of the data. This data that I gave you, it's in the report. This goes through every single grade level and 3 years by demographic. You won't see free and reduced or sped on any other pages than the first page, because the cell sizes are so small that it swings wildly. I mean, if there's only 3 kids in a cell in a grade, we can't even report that individually because it's too easy to tell who might have got those scores. But when we go to look at the highlights out of the achievement gap data, and for our contract this coming season, this group isn't covered under the contract, but just to kind of think about where we would be if we were following our new contract. We look at the gap between black and white students. So, and that needs to be less than 10%. So for 6th grade reading, the gap is closed. For 7th grade reading, the gap is almost closed. And it is also almost closed in 10th grade for reading. In 8th grade, in math, in 8th grade, the gap is closed. However, you'll also see that our proficiency is down in 8th grade. So there's good news and bad news in that. The news that surprised me the most was in 11th grade, our black students outperformed our white students. So
That's huge.
There's a new gap. It's a different way. But it's still less than 10%, but it's better. So one of our takeaways that we do know is that as students are here for a longer period of time, those gaps do close. And it makes sense, because if you come in, you're getting them, they're only having 1 year of MSA, and then as they move through. But the work we've done around reading and making sure that all 6th graders take a supplemental reading course has paid benefits. So this is our 2nd year of it. The first year we were just trying it out, and we did better, but this last year, I think we've kind of nailed it. So, and we know that it had something to do with the program that we were using, because if you look at often the gap, if you have reading and math, those students tend to score fairly close. There's not that many kids that are exceeding proficiency in reading and then does not meet in math. Occasionally you do. Sometimes there's cognitive issues or learning disabilities that could cause that, but typically not. So if we look at our scores and the closing of the gap in sixth grade between reading and math at the school level, the gap is huge. I mean, the black students in math are significantly lower. They were 84% proficient in reading, but about 35% proficient in math. So that's a gap that can't be ignored. So we're gonna have to go back and kind of look at how do we address those gaps. So that is our area to work on for this year. The last thing before the data glazes over and everybody, one of the things that our PLCs and our grade level teams will be working on moving forward. We have a data training for the beginning of November. So what the state gives us is we get, they take each of the standards and they'll give us a green plus if we are in general exceeding. And we only have one blue equal, so it means that we're meeting essentially. And then a red minus for the standards that we are below. So there's nothing in 6th and 7th grade reading. In 8th grade reading, I think that there is nothing. I don't think we have any reds in reading. We have a couple in 8th grade math. And sometimes you will also see when we have accelerated students, we teach them, so like we have a number of students that are taking what would in a traditional school be pre-algebra, which they take in 7th grade. So the pre-algebra standards are 7th grade standards, but they take a test on the 6th grade standards. So sometimes, even though they're accelerating in their program, they're not reviewing the standards that will be on the test. Because the MCA is not it only tests on the standards. It doesn't test if you are above the standards. It only tests if you're meeting the standards. So sometimes that's disappointing to students who are very bright because what they've learned that year is not what's on the test. Doesn't mean that they'll do badly on the test, they just might not do as well as they might. And I'm not suggesting that we don't teach them at their level, it's gonna reflect in the scores.
I mean, is that feedback that we could give back to the state? Just say,
Well, we could, it's the purpose of the test, the MCA test, is not to test students, it's to test a system. So it's not, we have become obsessed with, and it's not acting in the big we, national we, not us, with how each kid individually scores. That's not what the test is for. That's not the way the test is designed. The test is designed to determine if your school in general is making progress to teaching those standards and the students are learning, and then help identify if there are gaps in their learning or gaps in if like certain groups of students are performing as well as other, it's disparate outcomes. So, any questions? Yes.
Maybe to that end, is there anything that we can talk about in terms of marketing to potential MSA? I mean, right, if our system is providing 30% better than state average, so something like that, not the individual groups or what have you, but
Right.
I mean, if we close gaps between different groups, I mean, that's something cool to talk about too.
Right.
But I mean, just that big picture, like, look,
I wonder.
we're marketing to the state of Minnesota, if you will, and especially the East Metro. And that was my second question: is do we know how we compare to, like, let's say, our competition, the schools in this East Metro area?
We do. I don't have that data. That we're actually going to talk about that at the next one because that's part of our contract goals. So we'll review our contract goals. We do significantly outperform 833.
Okay. I mean, those would be nice bullet points or splashes on our webpage.
And there is a little, I get confused. This comes from MDE, and I can pass it around or you can look at it later. This shows us with the green being, the dark green is exceeds, meets partially, and then red is does not meet. So it compares us to the state. So it's a nice visual
Yeah.
representation that we can do. And in every area, in math and reading, even the areas that we might say, oh, we're underperforming, we're still significantly outperforming. So, I think we
Yes,
can
to Dan's
connect that.
point, are you looking more for like, statistically, if we say like 80% of our sixth graders are in a grade level or higher math class
I
than
don't
the
know how we
standard,
position
or?
it, but I guess if
Yeah.
I was a parent looking for sixth grade or ninth grade or whatever, and you said, we're outperforming all of the state by 30 points, do you know what I mean? I would say that sounds like that's kind of a win,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
means that school knows what they're doing, and I have a good likelihood that my kid will also benefit from that.
Mhm.
So it's like the value that we're offering is that we have a good system, and we're
Right.
churning out students that understand. So I think to your point earlier, it's not necessarily testing whether they also know other things in math and reading, but at least the grade level that they're being tested at, they're performing.
Well, and that's a
state average.
benchmark that parents know,
Yeah.
right? Because all the kids take the test for the
Yeah.
most part in the state. So,
I think there's
Sounds
even,
good, Robert. Go ahead.
yeah, there's just to build off that a little bit, like, we were talking about this, how we're seeing the gaps close as kids stay here longer.
mhm.
So it's that we've got something good going, but I think there's a way to, if we're putting this into a larger marketing
Yeah.
scheme, I think that's a point you wanna drive. It's like, you wanna
Yeah.
get your kid in early.
Yeah.
Because we've got a system that's showing to work that maybe your kid might come in and maybe they struggle in the beginning, but we've got what's needed in place to support your child's success.
All kids, yeah.
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 Exactly.
I like that. I think that we can work on trying to figure out how to position that in a way that's honest and fair,
Yes.
but also, it's marketing. We don't market. what we
But then it's also
don't.
presenting
Right.
what we can offer if they stay.
Right. And I didn't share the science data. It's going to be, there's a whole new science test next year. Our students in 8th grade did not benefit from, so next year, the 8th graders will have had, when we transitioned to the block schedule, we gave them a lot more science. So they'll have, that's a new test, so we can't compare. It's going to be MCA 4s now for science for 8th grade. We will not give the science test in 9th grade because they are not taking biology yet. So biology comes now as the standard course in 10th grade because we had to add the earth and space science. So, and that will help our students anyway, just because our students have always been at a disadvantage at the high school science test because we're testing them when they're in 9th grade, they don't have as much experience. You can test them anytime in high school. We just always did it in 9th grade because that's when they took biology. But as the test changes and as they haven't had biology, not everyone will have had biology, we'll test them. And we'll do better because the kids who had biology in 9th grade are probably taking AP biology. That's the prereq now. So I think that we'll see some changes there in that data.
Did you see any impact in the number of kids taking the test? So, in the past, the focus has been on keeping kids on campus, not doing PSEO. Now it's kind of switched a little bit. So we have more kids taking PSEO, and I'm wondering, has that impacted our testing at all with the scores that we're seeing? Because we have more kids in PSEO and fewer 11th graders on campus.
Yeah, so that did impact our 11th grade scores. We only had 70 students take the test. So PSEO students, I don't want to say how they would have scored. Often they will score higher. I think there were 13 or 14 kids that didn't take the test. I'm not going to publicly surmise. I did have gone through the list and looked at and seen how I thought those kids would have scored historically.
But all parents have the option to opt out.
All parents have the option to
Yep.
opt out. And that's also making some of these scores less relevant in comparison because many students are not, our kids are testing at a way higher rate
Mhm.
than most schools in the state, particularly in high school.
Any other questions, comments? Well, a lot of data, but it's what we're here to look at. And we'll look at it again, yes.
Give me a call, I mean,
Yep.
just block off 4 hours.
All right, Isaac, Finance Committee report.
All right, we should have a short update today. When these reports were run at the end of September, there was still the ADM of 677. We're expecting it to be about 686, and that should get updated by the next finance meeting, but the changes for that would be in our favor this time. So that's what we have for that. The requirements are all good with the cash on hand and debt service coverage ratio. For later in November, we'll have the give to the max that we mentioned once already. And so for some of the things we were thinking about targeting for that were the funding for the food pantry, teacher grants, and new smart boards were some of the things as of right now that we're thinking for the give to the max. As we go through expansion, Dr. Hinton and Reeves are keeping track of the long-term budget and meeting about the long-term budget as needed. And the other update is we have the audit happening, it was planned to start this week, and Abdo is working with that again and working with creative planning and people at MSA as needed for that.
And I had a report today, it should be finished this week. I mean, the work.
The work, yeah.
The report will take longer.
Okay.
But
Great.
they will have everything they need by the end of the week.
Nice.
Are we approving the motion, or finance reports?
I make a motion to approve the finance reports.
September.
Yep.
Is there a second?
I can second. Dan.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Isaac. Any questions on the governance notes? Or questions for Jules?
You can always send things to us in advance of the meeting. We're happy to respond. We actually had some great comments that were asked, and I appreciate that because we were able to get information out and clarify as needed. So if you have questions when the information comes out, feel free to send us an email, please. We would be happy to address.
On to action items. The only action item we have tonight is our board goals. Is there a motion to approve our board goals? Is there a second? Mhm. Any discussion?
I just want to say thank you, Tammy, for all the work on it. It was really nice. Thank you.
Very well written.
And that's,
You're welcome.
that's the reason.
Yeah. Any further discussion?
Appreciate the SMART goal approach with this, with the metrics.
Yeah, thanks for
as
getting
well.
that in there.
Yeah.
And great teamwork from everybody. All right, hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion passes unanimously. Some future board items. As you noticed, Christine is here tonight. She will be working with us in November. She does ask that we all complete our project from our retreat, where it does require you to sit down or call each member to kind of come up with an approach to when communicating with the different colors of personalities and the do's and don'ts or things to avoid when you're having those conversations with those individuals. So I passed around an extra if you didn't have it, but please find some time between now and November 12th, yes, to do that. We have, we're going to be putting on our agenda too to do an elementary guiding change document. And then we'll be doing some finance training in January with Dustin from Team Creative Planning. Are there any other items that we'd like to bring to our attention?
What did we decide? There was something we were gonna do in November and May.
So November is with
Then
Teamworks.
there was something else, it's from the goal, it was the, on the metrics, we were gonna do a review of goals or something?
Achievement contract
Contract goals, yeah.
Contract goals, that was-
Contract goals, yeah.
Yeah. And then we'll also have our self-evaluation as well. I'll be sending that out tomorrow.
This is part of our governance, yeah.
Mhm. So with the self-evaluation, it's the same as what we did last year. The first part is the document from Max, where you're doing just a self-individual reflection of your progress and where you're at. The second part is the form from Teamworks, where it's just reflecting on the board as a whole. So think of the perspective of how are we functioning as a board in that sense. So that Google form will come out. I asked that it be done in a week, so Emma has time to compile the data, and then we will share it with Christine and the board and reflect on it.
That's
Yep, it'll come out tomorrow. Yeah. All right. Any other things? Is there a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Is there a second? All in favor? Aye. Have a great evening.
You too, thanks.